Hey everyone, and welcome back. So this week and possibly next week is Prismacolor week. So all of my videos will be done with Prismacolor, and I'm gonna try and get as many of them done as I can. I'm actually going on vacation the end of this week, so I will be hopefully getting as many as I can done for you before I leave. So if you followed me this weekend, you know that I was doing this, which is a page out of my Gemstones Volume 4 book. I usually print them small for me so that I can take them throughout the house, and sit on the couch and not have to be here at my desk. On the weekends, I like to relax a little bit. Not a lot, but, a little bit. Anyway, so this is the one I wanted to show you today, and I wanted to also talk to you about the differences between Prismacolor and Polychromos, and some of the differences between other ones, because Prismacolor kind of is a coloring pencil all on its own, just in the very specific characteristics it has. So I've been trying to reacquaint myself with that over the weekend while I've been doodling and such. One of the first things that I began to kind of remember is that when I work with Polychromos, the opacity level, and that means how see-through are the colors themselves. Both Polychromos and Prismacolors are very vibrant. They have great colors and great coverage. However, Polychromos, when you put that color down, you are usually really able to see what is under it, because it has such an opacity to it, which gives it that kind of luminous look when you're doing it on white paper. Okay, Prismacolors have a much higher opacity, and so they're a lot, because of the wax base instead of the oil base, they are not nearly as see-through-ish. Okay, they're not nearly as translucent as Faber-Castells. Second thing, Polychromos, when you put them down and then go over them with another layer or a different color or whatnot, they will generally stay in place, and they're not going to do a lot other than maybe blend together a little bit. Whereas Prismacolors, once you lay them down and begin going over them, they're going to just kind of mesh all together. That's again with pressure and whatnot, the wax is just going to come together and stay, whereas oil kind of layers on layers. Okay, so one of the big differences that has on doing gems and stones is that the shading to make something pop and look 3D, we can do that on the bottom, we can do that on the top, we can do that in the middle layers of Polychromos. Prismacolors are different. You really need to do your shading first. That's what will work best, because then you're just giving a darker background to begin working on for your gem or for your stone. So this one's a stone over here, because it is not opaque and the highlight is kind of softer, and it's over here on the lightest part of your stone. Okay, and then you've got the shadow opposite, whereas on a gem you've got the highlight on the shadow, and then your lightest part is opposite that. Okay, so I have the cool gray 50% and 70%. Whereas in Polychromos, they just say cool gray 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 17, whatever. So, let's get started. Also, keeping your Prismacolors sharp is a priority. Because of how soft they are, they have a much harder time getting into the tooth of the paper. Because if you are using a light touch, which you should be, you're not getting into the tooth of the paper as much as polychromos, because they have a harder lead to them. Not hard, just harder. And so it's easier to get into the tooth of the paper with them. Whereas Prismacolors generally like to just stay on top, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I did have some questions about my favorite blending method, which is odorless mineral spirits. And yes, odorless mineral spirits can be used with any, and I do mean any, colored pencil. Wax base, oil base, even graphite base if you have some of those. Odorless mineral spirits can be used with anything. All that it does is helps to loosen the pigment from the binder that is used to create the lead, the core of the colored pencil. Not the lead, but the core. And so that's something you want to work on, is, or not work on, but something you need to know. So I'm just going ahead and doing all of my shading first with the 50% and now the 70% gray, so that I have a nice shadow going on down here to make our sphere 3D-esque. And if you hear bumping and stuff going on, my neighbors are going crazy today. I don't think they took their crazy day meds or something. So, and you can be kind of sloppy with this if you want to, because like I said before, these kind of mesh into one another when you do put on more pressure later in your gem or your stone coloring. Okay, so in my gem, I kind of wanted like these super like earthy colors and stuff like that. So I went on to use my light aqua. And again, these pencils are all on loan from my best friend, who's amazing. And she agreed to let me use them. And she gets my polychromos. I know, it's hard to believe. I let them out of my sight, but I did. So I will have a couple of videos where I do polychromo and Prismacolor comparisons for y'all, so you can see the differences of them side by side. So also, you're going to get the little dusties because Prismacolors are so soft. They have little dusties. And I'm not giving like a very like even coat of color, because I do want it to be kind of differentiate in different colors. So from there, I want to go ahead and do our lines and cracks type things. This one is yellow ochre. I think it's the one I used over here. I'm not sure. Because I did that on Saturday, I think. And I don't remember all that I used. So I really ought to make notes when I do stuff in my sketchbooks. I'm just kind of going crazy with my little jagged line thingies. Because I had someone tell me, haha, my others on one of my other gems looked like trapped worms, because I usually do such jagged little lines. It was really funny. Yeah, that kind of looks cool. Alright. By the way, when you guys do like and comment stuff, and comment on YouTube, comment on Facebook, like, I read it all. I may not always respond, but I do read every single one of them. I promise. And I do love it. Like, I really, really do. I love hearing ideas. If you ever have ideas for more stones for me to do, or stones you want me to check out, or another artist, or hey, do you know how this was done, or whatever, comment, like, tell me, find me on Facebook. In my group, Gem Hose, this is Sienna Brown, by the way, my bad. In my group Gem Hose, like, I'm always in there talking to somebody, doing something. So you're always welcome to join and to catch me in there. Start up a conversation with me. I'm almost always ready to chat, as long as I'm caffeinated properly. Okay, so I'm not following all and every single side of these. I'm just kind of going here and there, which is just what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go over every single part of the lines. And go back in here and kind of mesh these two together, blend. As you can see, they just kind of go together. It's like not even a big deal, which is cool. I like the very buttery aspect of Prismacolors. I just prefer polychromos, but that's me. But it's fine. You can get spectacular effects either way. It's definitely not an issue. You just have to know how to know what your medium is made of, know how it works together and whatnot, so that you have a knowledge base of, you know, I can see this effect here. How would I build that with what I have? So, or at least that's what I like to try and think. Okay, this one is olive green because I wanted some really earthiness feel in here. So I'm just going to start at some of these lines and just go out from there. And just kind of go in little tiny circles. And kind of just make the color come out from there. And I meant it, by the way. If you guys have stones and stuff that you want to see, please let me know. I'm always looking for ideas, just because I want to continually expand. And sometimes I get stagnant in my own ideas and thoughts. So, I know that I've got a couple of people who want some more opal tutorials, so we will try and do that. And also some galaxy type stuff. Because I tried to do like the ring like that, where it's like this weird like fire galaxy or something. And I like how it turned out. And then I watched some other galaxy stuff on YouTube and found some cool ways to do things. So I do spend a ton of time on YouTube researching other ways to do things, checking out other artists. I spend tons of time on Pinterest as well. Just looking at stuff, looking for inspiration, and looking at pictures and just going, I wonder how to do that in colored pencil. And then all you need to do is try. It may not come out, it may. You don't know. But you won't know until you try. So, this is cool. It kind of looks like a rainforest or a jungle. Like, that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting from this. That could just be a wild fantasy because I live in Texas. But, you know, whatever. I've seen rainforest before. I think one of my biggest pet peeves, I guess, with the Prismacolor is the fact that you get so much texture with it, and it's so hard to get it to be completely smooth when you're using so many light layers. So that's one of the things that I will address with my odorless mineral spirits. Also, if you are one of the many, many people who has the colorless blender pencil, that is a huge help when you are doing gems and such, because you can, excuse my tiny little one, but you can go in here and get this to be a lot smoother looking and blend it into one another if that's the look that you're going for. Mine is, yeah, yay big, because it can be used with anything, not just Prismacolor color pencils. I just wanted to use it a little bit, show you guys that it does just kind of soften things and bring them, helps to work them into the white spots of your gem or your stone. The paper, the white spots of the paper, that's what I mean. And then I'm just going in and kind of bringing out that light aqua color, the vibrancy of it on some of the other spots. And then I also have a dark green for some of the darker spots. If you can see over here, I kind of worked in a few of the darker spots here and here around the shadow, because I don't want it to just be like, you know, gray shadow or whatnot. I want it to actually look darker, so you use a darker color. That's what shading is all about. To make a shadow, to shade, or whatever, use a darker color. Gray is always great just to kind of mute the white so that your color pencils don't have to, the color ones don't have to work as hard, so that's what you're using gray for, especially if it shows through as much as it does with Prismacolors, or polychromos for that matter. So I just want some spots of the dark in here. And just kind of want to add a little bit more shadow over here. And you can always add more color, add more layers, all of that. The white in polychromos is not very useful for anything more than a blender pencil. It definitely will lighten a tiny bit of the color. In the Prismacolors, though, it is much more opaque, and you can really see the difference that it will make on top of these colors. So just letting you know. This white is much more opaque. It does really brighten. It also kind of gives a glowy type effect to whatever you're doing, which is kind of interesting. Especially if you're working for that kind of look, ethereal and such, with your work. Okay. See, but it also kind of muddies it a little bit, and I don't like that. I like my colors to be very, very clear, which is one of the reasons I do like polychromos better. But that's alright. So, let's talk a little bit about highlights. Our one of our favorite pens to do highlights with is our Uniball White Signo pen. Now, this one, because it is a very thin gel ink, it does have a tendency to take the color and kind of pull it up through the gel pen and kind of go together. And so you will end up with a highlight that is not bright white. You will end up with a highlight that is some variation of the color under it. So I do not recommend that for working with Prismacolors. All of my highlights on here, as you can see, doing over here and doing this, is all with my white Jelly Roll pencil, because these don't seem to pick up the color underneath at all. They stay white, they stay bright. So that is what I will use on my Prismacolors. And so for the really soft highlight, what I would do would be kind of do like little scribbles, and then just kind of go out with my finger and soften it so that you didn't see the actual scribbles, and you just kind of begin building it up from there. Okay? Now, if you want it to look shiny, of course, and less of a matte finish, then absolutely go in and do your normal highlight on here. And it does still look pretty stinking good. So, there we go with that. I always like to do these weird ones where I have like separate, you know, little ones, and have my little other lights from other areas running around. So, there we go. And if need be, wait till it dries, and then you can go over it and make it a brighter white. If you have little scratches in it like that I just got, it's because it's not dry yet. You need to wait till it dries to go over it. But there you go. It's our little earth stone. It doesn't quite look the same because I think I used more green in this one and I used a little bit more blue in this one, but that's okay. I still like it. So, I will see you next time when we do another Prismacolor gem.